What's going on, y'all? It is Wax, and it is Wax's podcast. Yay. I know you're all just elated, excited, happy, joyous, and just in a celebratory mode in general because you're hearing the delicate, yet insightful, yet some other adjective. I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's Wax's podcast, y'all. It's episode 86. Sorry for not doing an episode last week. I've been really, as I probably say as an excuse, and in all facets of my life, if I don't get something done, I'm just like, man, I've been really busy. And it's like, have I? Have I been really busy? Well, I have been. But if I'm sure there's some activities I could have cut out, where I could have, if I had cut out certain activities, I could have gotten a podcast done last week. But hey, I'm not a perfect person. As I've said many different times, I'm not a perfect person. So I had an interesting last couple weeks, specifically this past week, but I've just been working, man. I've been working on my album. I got one more song to finish, and then just got to mix all the songs, and then my album will be done. I know I've been saying it was going to come out in April, but guess what? It's not. It'll probably be more like the beginning of June, realistically, and I really mean that this time. What happens is, you start to feel like you're almost done, especially with an album or a mixtape. You start to feel like you're almost done, and then if you might say, yeah, it's going to be out around whenever, and then you just keep adding shit, whether you're adding shit to certain songs or, you come up with a beat and you're like, yo, this one's got to be on there, or you get a beat from EOM, which I just did, which is the last one I'm finishing. I got a really good hip-hop track from from my boy EOM. So once I finish that song, all the songs will be done. And it's turned out to be good, man. It's I think you guys are going to enjoy it. If not, what can you do? You should just go listen to some other album. It probably sounds like all the other shit that's going on. You notice there's a lot of shit out there that kind of has this same vibe. I think really Drake kind of started. I don't know if he started. There might have been some certain things out before him that were a little bit in the vein, but Drake's melodies is really, his style of melody has really taken over the airwaves, and a couple albums I've listened to recently are just kind of ridiculously influenced by Drake. I'm not going to say the one I'm thinking of in particular, but that being said, there's a lot of unique shit out, too. There's a lot of unique shit out. The Earl Sweatshirt shit was very unique. The Action Bronson shit has a certain level of uniqueness to it. Kendrick shit was certainly extremely unique. I listened to Tyler the Creator's album last night, and it was very unique. I will critique, even though it was unique at its peak. I will speak. I don't know, but if you listen to that Tyler the Creator album, the album's called Cherry Bomb. I think it actually could have been really dope. It was the first album I think in my life where I think just the guy who mixed it fucked up. I don't know. Maybe he wanted it to be like that. I used to listen to a couple punk rock songs back in the day where the lyrics were kind of soft and it kind of didn't sound as great. But in this particular case, especially since he's rapping, it kind of annoys me that on a lot of the songs, the lyrics are mixed so low that instead of listening to it, I'm struggling to hear it. You know what I mean? It's just like when I listen to music, I want to just listen to it. And if one of the main, usually, maybe it's just me being too used to the norm. Maybe I shouldn't be so used to the norm. I should be willing to accept new, different experiences as far as audio is concerned. But call me old-fashioned. Usually the main focus of a rap song is the rap being said. And I think in a lot of those songs, it was a pain to listen to because I was struggling, as if you're looking at something from far away and you might try to open your eyes wider to see it. It's no longer enjoyable to look at whatever you're looking at because you're straining. That's the word. I was straining rather than listening. So that being said, the songs that didn't have that issue, a lot of them were fucking cool, really cool, jazzy chord changes. Yeah, so that's I didn't even plan to talk about that. I don't know why I'm talking about that. I guess I was talking about my album. But I will say that my album has its own unique kind of vibe. It's not going to fucking change the game. It's not some experimental, crazy fucking shit. But, you know, some good raps on there, some good songs on there, good hooks on there, good stuff on there. It's got a lot of interesting music on there. So that should be out. You know, at this point, I just got to shoot a couple music videos. I have some shit kind of already either done or in the works. And then I got to get the fucking... You know, I got to do all the shit. I got to get the CDs made for all you people out there that still listen to CDs. It's almost like a compact disc at this point. Like, the reason I'm even having compact discs made is for, like... It's not so people can get the compact... I love saying compact disc for some reason because it really sheds light for some reason on how old this shit is. Like, is it really that compact? Like, especially compared to nowadays where... You know, it's non-existent. It's just a fucking little blip somewhere on a hard drive inside of a computer. Like, that's a compact file. Those discs should be called enormous discs at this point. I guess they're compact in comparison to vinyl, which some people do still listen to. Speaking of that, me and Davey in our studio, Davey got one of those like Urban Outfitters fucking record players, and we bought a bunch of records. And now we're just fucking sample wizards. Not really, but we did buy some interesting records, and we have made a couple cool sample beats. God, I'm jumping all over the place here. Yeah, the reason you get compact discs is not so people can play them. It's more so people can have them as a souvenir. Two reasons. Like when you do live shows, and you have a merchandise table. It's something somebody can buy and something you can sign for them, and it becomes a souvenir. Oftentimes, those people probably don't even use the CD, especially considering, I do really say especially a lot. It bugs me now because I notice it every time I say it, and I say that word all the fucking time. But, you know, I have two computers. I have a computer, a new, like, MacBook Pro regular computer, not a laptop in my studio, and there's no fucking CD player in that. And then I have my little MacBook Air laptop, and there's no fucking CD player in that. Granted, I do have a CD player in my car, but I also have one of those aux-in things in my car where I can, like, hook it up to Spotify or whatever. So, point is, the compact disc is going the way of the cassette tape, and it's going fast. So, like, part of me is just like, why am I even getting these things? But, you know, I think I'm gonna do a thing this time with my album release, like I always do, where I have kind of like a bunch of different little merch pieces that you can buy. I probably have T-shirts and shit like that. Just T-shirt, CD, and then a couple other kind of trinkets. I'm not gonna tell you what they are yet because I'm not 100% sure, but I think I have a pretty cool idea of what kind of yet more wax merchandise I'm gonna make. More dumb shit to put my name on and sell to you. You know, I've already done a lot of things, but I thought of a couple things that I haven't done, and that there might be like a little theme to the package I'm going to put together that actually goes a little bit with the theme to the album. It all might just work together perfectly. What do they call that when things work together perfectly? Fuck. It's going to bother me. I don't know what word that is. Everything works together. Fuck. I hate when you can't think of a word. Whatever. I'm done talking about that. Let's go into some other stuff that happened to me recently. For the past week, exactly a week ago, I had headphones on. I was in my house, and I actually had earbuds in my ear that were connected to my phone, and I was urinating into the toilet, and the phone was sitting on the countertop, which the sink was on. You know, that's how my setup is, as most bathrooms are. So I had the phone sitting there, and when I reached to flush the toilet, it started to flush, and then I guess my head had to move in order to just kind of, you know, lean forward to flush the toilet. And as soon as I leaned forward, lo and behold, the fucking phone fell off the counter directly into the toilet bowl. And as you would expect, within seconds, it died. And, you know, I held out hope. I asked people on the internet what I should do, and I had never heard of this before, but I guess everybody knows this. If you drop your phone, like if you completely submerge your phone in water, you're supposed to put it in rice. Like buy a bag of rice and submerge your phone in rice for 48 hours, and then turn it on after that. I guess the rice is supposed to somehow magically suck up the water. Problem is, I didn't know that information until like really like a day and a half after it happened. And another piece of information that goes with that is you're not supposed to attempt to turn your phone on for at least 48 hours and after the rice. And of course, I attempted to turn my phone on a shitload of times before I even put it in the rice, and then I did put it in the rice. It's not turning on, blah, 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 blah. So Monday, I go to the Verizon store. I bite the bullet, man. I need a phone, you know? So, of course, when I get to the Verizon store, they inform me that if I wanted to get a new iPhone now, it's like $700. But in 3 weeks from now, I'm eligible for my upgrade. And it's like $200. So I'd be spending $500 extra to get a phone for the next 3 weeks. So the guy in there, he informed me that what many people in my situation do is they just get an old iPhone, and or flip phone or whatever, just some cheap, like a cheap phone off Craigslist, or your old phone or your friend's old phone or whatever, and they hook it up for the time being until they get the upgrade is available to them. So I got my boy Davey's old iPhone, went in there, and of course another thing happened that made it so I don't have a phone. He had an AT&T phone, and I'm with Verizon, and I didn't even realize that the actual phone itself was made for AT&T or Verizon. I thought that was just your service provider. But it was an AT&T iPhone, so it was useless to me. And here I am a week later, and I still don't have a phone. And as I said on Twitter today, the first like 3 days where I didn't have a phone, it was great. It was freeing. It felt like I was on vacation. It felt like I had unplugged for a little bit, you know? But since then, the last 3 days, I'm starting to really feel that effect of, like, you know, as a modern American, or probably any human being that's in a at least somewhat first world society, you know, we feel naked without our phones. I feel now the disconnect is not a positive thing. The disconnect is very negative. I'm wondering who's calling me, who's texting me, who's probably might even be getting mad at me because I'm not texting them back. I feel like I usually talk to my brother every day on the phone. I feel like I'm disconnected from him. Of course, since I really slack on Instagram pictures, and ever since I haven't had a phone, I feel like everywhere I go, there's a cool picture to take. Not that matters, but it's really more about just like I feel disconnected, and you know, just my email is not enough, especially when I'm like on the road and I got to meet up with somebody. And like the whole old school method of just being like, okay, we'll meet at this place at 7. It just doesn't feel quite right. You know what I mean? Like, what if I'm a little bit late? How are you going to know? Did I die? I don't know. You're texting me trying to find out, but you get the point. So yeah, that happened. Right before that, though, I did have a joyous occasion. In the past 2 weeks. This was a week and a half ago now. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before that was my birthday. And as many of you know, I have a twin brother, so of course I share a birthday with him, and he lives in San Diego. So we went down to San Diego, and we celebrated. It was actually on Easter Sunday was our birthday this year, April 5th. And a couple funny things happened. First, It was funny. Me and my brother, and then my boy Fraser and my boy Darren. All three of them live in San Diego, and I've known those guys since I was in elementary school. And we've developed within like the past 10 years or so. Whenever it's somebody's birthday, or on Christmas too, you get them a gift, and the gift is always the same. The gift is the worst malt liquor you can possibly find at whatever your local liquor store is. So this time, Chris and Darren went really hardcore for me and my brother. They bought us each two. We got King Cobra, OE, Mickey's, and I think the other one was what was the other one? It might even been like Steel Reserve or something. Nah, it was some kind of malt liquor, but the tradition is that, like, you know, somebody buys you shitty malt liquor and you have to drink it, which is cool because, you know, it's your birthday and it's this great celebration, and you actually already have a cooler stocked with things like Stone IPA, or at the very least Pacifico, and a bunch of delicious beer. But even on your birthday or Christmas, whenever you're celebrating, you have to drink that 40 of OE, which was actually kind of nice. I hadn't had a 40 of OE in a while. But, we started early. We started with the barbecue, and we had the kids there, and we did the cake and everything, because my brother has 2 kids, if you didn't know. And then later, they had a babysitter, and we all went out to the local pub. And I knew at about 2 p.m. when I took that first sip of that Old English 40 ounce, I knew that night wasn't going to end up good for me. I knew I was going to overdo it, and of course I fucking did. So by the end of that night, not only was I extremely intoxicated, but I guess I was standing outside of the bar, and I was smoking a cigarette, and I leaned back to put my head against the wall, and there was a little pipe, like a piece of pipe sticking out of the brick wall, and I hit it the wrong way, and it just kind of cut my head, and for the next 15 minutes, my head was bleeding. So I'm standing out of the bar, and people, my friends are helping me out, bringing me out napkins, and it was just a bloody mess. And I'm fine now. It was just really not that big of a cut. I guess it just hit a place in your body where there's a fucking artery or something like that. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it was a serious injury, and maybe I'm stupider now, especially because I'm using words such as especially and stupider. So that must be true. So kids, be careful when you drink, There's a lot of injuries. That's one thing about being a drinker that I was thinking about recently. I'm actually about to take some time off of drinking. I know that I say that all the time, but, this time I kind of mean it. I'm trying to do 50 days. 50 days alcohol free. I started today, literally. Today is day 1. I shouldn't be saying this shit on the podcast, and then next week, if I fail, I'll feel like I failed you, But yeah, an interesting thing about drinking is that, imagine people that are sober, people that don't drink at all, any injury they have can be explained, There's no such thing as somebody being like, dude, how'd you get that on your head? And you're like, oh, dog, I don't even know, man. How'd you break your leg? Man, I just woke up and I was in the hospital. I was like, fuck, dog. That's legal. It's legal in our society to have to do a drug that makes that happen. But some of these other drugs that are clearly less harmful, that would never make you break your leg and not remember how you did it, nah, too bad for them. I saw on Yahoo News, it's the only place I would ever see news. This Republican dude who's running for president was talking about how if he becomes president, he's gonna right now, whoever the guy on Obama's team said, you know what, all you states, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, if you got legal weed, we're not going to fuck with you. We're going to let that be a state thing, even though officially federal law prohibits it. But this guy, his name's Chris Christie. He's the fat guy from New Jersey. And he said the opposite. He was like, if I'm president, I'm going to put a stop to this. And it was kind of crazy, too, because he's a Republican and he's a conservative. And they always blah, blah, blah about how the government needs to be smaller and get out of people's lives. And it seems like that's a direct contradiction to, the general platform of conservative Republican types. So, yeah, you would think that they would just want weed. You would think that even people on his team would be like, yo, dude, shut the fuck up. Let's let them do their thing. But he's all going to try to enforce it and I guess go and do these raids or whatever. I don't know. I don't pay much attention to politics. I just saw that, like I said, because when I was checking my email, which, yes, I still use Yahoo. I'm not saying I'm proud of it. But I use Gmail, too. beatsforwax@gmail.com. If you want to send an email for this podcast, I use Gmail for this podcast, and I use Yahoo for my personal shit. Point is, I only get news that appears on the Yahoo front page, and it distracts me from checking my email. Sometimes it puts me in a wormhole. Today I had to discover I don't know, whatever. Yeah, so that's me without a phone. What else? This has been a weird week. I've been working a lot, but I actually had relationship problems this week, which is weird because I'm not even in a relationship. It'd be really hard to explain it to you, but it was actually kind of nice. Like I had something happen to me with a girl, and I felt emotions. And it was nice to know that I have the ability to to actually feel emotions when it comes to like being hurt or being in love or whatever it is. And it kind of fucked me up for a few days, and it still is really, but it was kind of nice that it's kind of nice to know that I can feel. It's been a long time since I've been in like a loving relationship like that, and it probably will be a long time still because I fucking don't do anything but work, y'all. Like, I literally sit in here all fucking day and night. I literally do that because me and Davey, we don't only work on my album. Sometimes we just start shit from scratch and we just make beats or write songs or whatever we do, and it's really fun. I've been having a really good time with it recently, but I don't do anything. Like, I don't have much of a social life. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a lonely situation sometimes when you just essentially lock yourself in a small room all day, every day. And we've developed a really good chemistry, really good workflow, and I really enjoy this shit. But I think that I might have to this like sobriety stint is part of it. I'm trying to just clear my mind and get everything straight. Because the way that we've been working recently is a lot of times we'll work all day trying to finish things. And then when it gets to nighttime, we'll have a few drinks and just create from scratch. You know what I mean? And anybody will tell you if you're drinking a lot, your brain just kind of gets a little cloudy. And I was getting to that point, so I'm gonna take some time off that. And I think I'm gonna try to first I'm finishing my fucking album. I'm spending every waking hour trying to get shit done. I'm really directly contradicting myself right now. Because that was part of I just want to focus on getting all this shit done. But I think that I gotta schedule time into my day to be social. You know what I mean? I don't know, to do shit that normal people do, like go on dates and like, what I'm saying, shit like that. I haven't been pursuing females very much recently, and I think that a man is supposed to do that. I think a man is supposed to a single man is supposed to spend a solid amount of time in pursuit of a female. And recently I've been in here so much that I haven't been doing that, and I think it's a little unnatural, and I think it's throwing me off. So that being said, I got so much work to do. I don't know. I might have to figure some shit out. I might have to start using Tinder or something. I never really used that shit before, but it seems like it'd be easier than fucking... You know what I'm saying? Tinder is an amazing... dating websites in general are pretty amazing. I guess they did have back in the day. They had like this shit in the back of the newspaper, like people looking for people. But the thing about Tinder, let's say you go to a bar, right? Let's say you go to a bar. I must have said this on the pod. Am I repeating something I said on the podcast before? I don't know what the fuck I said, so I'll say it really fast. You go to a bar. They say that for the sake of numbers, let's say there's 100 women in there. Right off top, 50% of them are with their boyfriend, if not 60%. So bam, 50 of them are done. Let's say an additional 20 of them are just there with their girlfriends trying to have a good time. They're not there to try to hit on dudes or get laid or whatever, or you find a man or whatever it is. Bam. So that's 70% gone. Let's say out of the 30 women left, 20 of them are girls that you kind of wouldn't want to mess with anyway. Call me superficial or whatever, but 2 out of 3 of them you don't want to mess with anyway. So that leaves 10 girls right there that are even could possibly be interested in you. And let's be realistic. Even if you talk to all 10 of them girls, probably 7 of them aren't even going to be fucking with you. You know what I mean? Depending on what you look like, they might not think you're fucking tall enough. They might not think you look rich enough. They might not think you're interesting enough, or whatever it may be. So that leaves 3 out of 100. And you don't know when you get into the bar which 3 women those are. Tinder takes away all 97 of those. Well, it doesn't necessarily take away the ones that you... Yeah, because you can just pat. You don't have to... Like, if the ones that you don't want, you don't have to pick. So essentially, you at least... I don't fucking know how that means, but you see what I'm saying. It takes away all the people that aren't that are impossible or uninterested. So it's a pretty genius idea, really. And yeah, I might start fucking with that shit because it's a lot easier than like, because I could do that while I'm here working. I could be fucking around on that thing while I'm here working. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna keep you guys updated. What else is going on with me? I don't know. I'm working on music like I always am. I don't have a phone, which is fucked up. I am quitting drinking today for 50 days. What else is going on with me? Not much. Not much else. Why don't we go ahead and get to some questions and shout-outs? Yes. All right. Let's see. We got these questions. We got the shout-outs. We got the podcast. We got the megabytes. We got the gigazorps. Okay. Shout-outs. DJ Scolio. What up, DJ Scolio? Also, DJ Scolio's boy, Doustin Gold. That's his producer's name. The SoundCloud is Doustin Gold. SoundCloud.com/DOUSEDINGOLD. He does some like EDM stuff. So go check his shit out. We got Aaron James. We got Luke from the UK who recommends Jai Paul. That's JAI space PAUL. I will second the fuck out of that recommendation. Definitely, that fool makes some good ass music. Shout out to Roland. Roland recommends the new Madonna album. The album is called Rebel Heart. A very odd type of recommendation here on Wax's podcast, an unexpected recommendation. But hey, life is unexpected, and on Wax's podcast, we're just emulating life. All right, we got Zach B. Zach B, whose SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/projectbenz, PROJECTBENZ. Zach, in a previous episode of Wax's podcast, was the person who trolled me successfully. He tried to say that there was a time, because if you remember a while back, many podcasts ago, it was that the problem with that somebody had, I believe it was Saddam Insane. What's up, Saddam Insane, if you're hearing this? He had a problem with me saying especially, but also pacifically. Instead of specifically, he said I said pacifically, which I don't believe that I ever did. And I still have yet to have somebody email me and point out when I said pacifically instead of specifically. Except one time, and it was Zach B, and he was just like, yeah, it's fucking episode 24 at 29.07 or whatever. And I on the podcast, I looked up that time, and I noticed that I didn't even use the word pacifically or specifically. And I've emailed him back talking shit. And then while I was recording the podcast, I read an email from him back, and he was basically said, like, I was just high at night, and I felt like trolling you. So well done, Zach B. Well done. That was a tap to the microphone representing a clap right there. Little four clap. Not to be confused with a golf clap, even though they do use the word for in golf. Anywho, shout out to Jackie Sweetleaf. And last but not least, we got Mark from Chicago. All right, let's start with Chris M. This isn't really a question, but this is just this is kind of a recommendation or a backing up of my recommendation. I just thought this was a well-written email from my man Chris M., who resides in Michigan. What up, Wax? Somehow when you started listing the Netflix let me start that over. What up, Wax? Somehow when you started listing the Netflix documentaries that kept you up all night, I knew you were going to mention Culture High. I had just watched it a few days before, and I thought it was done really well. I like the way it gives reasons for legalizing marijuana that applies to everyone, not just people who would use it if it were legal. It sucks the way the government keeps weed illegal so they can rationalize a war on drugs and get crazy amounts of funding for it. I think I remember the documentary saying that if weed was legal, the amount of people arrested for illegal drugs would drop like 80 or 90%. They did say that. I don't know if it was that high, but I do remember in the documentary, and this was surprising to me. Sorry to interrupt the reading of that, but apparently 60% of people in jail in the United States are in jail for marijuana possession. That might include maybe that includes possession with the intent to distribute or whatever, but 60% of people in our jails are there for marijuana. Like, that's pretty fucking ridiculous if you ask me. That's kind of insane if you ask me. So, just relates back to what I was saying earlier with how bad alcohol is. And, if we legalize marijuana, I don't think it'd be a really big problem. Like, when I was in high school, it was easier for me to get marijuana than it was alcohol, It's not like there was drug dealers that would sell alcohol. That's just too difficult. You can't keep that in your pocket. You know what I mean? Yeah, so because to continue with Chris M's email, because the majority of arrested for it now only smoke weed and hard drug users are rare. One other thing I didn't realize is that the United States is under pressure to keep it illegal by the United Nations, who are obviously pulling the same scam. That documentary went deep into all the things wrong with the world, but I particularly like the part about the internet as the light at the end of the tunnel. I have noticed this about a ton of different topics as well, that the internet is bringing out the truth. The internet has the potential to save us because when everybody has the ability to participate in these global conversations, the truth will prevail. Looking forward to all the content you are about to be releasing, Chris M. Well, I appreciate that, Chris. Hopefully I'll have some stuff out soon. I have tons of fucking music. I have so much new music. I literally have half of my next album done. Yeah, man, I agree about the internet. Like, people are no longer able to live in these bubbles of bullshit. By bubbles of bullshit, that could mean something that's related to religion, even though that's so strong that it's kind of hard to convince people sometimes, even with all the information out there. But religion or political issues, the truth is all out there, and obviously there's many sides to every story, but the internet makes it so everybody at least has access to every side of the story, not just whatever dumb shit they're being told. So I appreciate that email, Chris. All right, we got a email from Charlie. Just Charlie. Okay. Hey, Wax, what's up? Thanks for the shout-out. Hey, by the way, shout-out to my sister. Congratulations to my sister who is engaged. I think she listens to this podcast. Shout-out to my nephew, her son, Chris. What's up, Chris, if you're listening to this? Congratulations, Jen. I'm there. That is awesome. That is a big deal. So congratulations to you and Brent. And what's up to my nephew, Chris? I wanted to shout you guys out this week because I should do that much more often. Love you guys. All right. Hey, Wax, what's up? Thanks for the shout-out on episode 45. It made my week. I know that's going way back, but I thought I'd throw that in. I'd like to say sorry for not being a loyal podcast listener as of late. I'm going to listen to your hours of rambling from the start, episode 1 through current, sometime in the near future. Wow, that's a lot of hours. Yeah, 86 podcasts, if they're approximately an hour apiece. It's not a lot of math there. It's about 86 hours worth of content. God, that seems like not even a lot considering how long I've been doing this podcast. Doesn't even seem like a lot of time, but I guess it is if you played them back to back. You'd want to kill yourself by the end, understandably. I'm currently in my second year of computer and software engineering, and whilst I find it pretty interesting, I am not sure if I want to pursue it as a career and devote my life to it. To be perfectly honest, my dreams are at least what I think I would love to do for the rest of my life. My dreams, or at least what I think I would love to do for the rest of my life, are to either make a living from skateboarding or rapping. However, I am not exactly brilliant at either of them, or don't believe I have the talent to do either professionally. Dude, to be a professional skateboarder, Jesus, man, I'm a huge skateboarding fan, and the shit that they're doing now is unbelievable. The progression that skateboarding has made, it's insane what people do now. So I don't know how good you are, man, but that's a lofty dream to be a professional skateboarder. I know this is a little bit of a generic problem. You probably get asked frequently, but what do you think I should do? What do I follow? Do I follow what I really love doing and try make a living out of it, or do I keep doing my degree that I enjoy and think is pretty cool, and try to build a career, business, or something? Also, next year I'm going to try to do a student exchange to North America. Not sure where yet. Suggestions? And hopefully catch one of your shows. Oh, you're not from North America? I'm going to try to do a student exchange to North America. I don't think he said where he was from. He might. If he did, he didn't. Interesting. He's got a couple PS questions too, but I'll address this one first. That was an additional one. Real quick, also next year I'm trying to do a student exchange to North America. Not sure where yet. Suggestions? And hopefully catch one or / all of your shows. Well, you said North America. So that's Mexico, the United States, and Canada. If you're talking Canada, I haven't been to a lot of places in Canada. I've never been to Vancouver. I'm not allowed in Canada, but I used to be. And Toronto is a beautiful city. I've heard Nova Scotia is cool, but I think that that's probably not the best place to do a student exchange. And from what I've heard and seen pictures, Vancouver is the shit. So if you're doing Canada there, if you're doing America, obviously the number one draft pick has got to be New York City, depending on what you say that you're doing computer stuff, right? Software engineering. Maybe you got to go up to Silicon Valley, you know what I mean? Up in the Bay Area, and a little bit south of that, I guess, San Jose, San Francisco, Oakland. I'd recommend Los Angeles. It's a really interesting fucking place with Hollywood and the entertainment biz and beautiful beaches, amazing weather. Other interesting cities in America include Austin, Texas, New Orleans, Miami, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Boston, Chicago. I wouldn't recommend Detroit. Detroit's probably not where you want to go for that. I mean, if you were going to the middle of the country, you might be able to experience some cool culture, but I'd recommend an urban type of place. Maybe Seattle or Portland would be cool too. San Diego is just an exceptional city. But I think if I had to give you, and then let's go to Mexico. Let's not forget that. I've never been to Mexico City, but I hear that it's pretty crazy. My brother used to live down near there for a little bit, but he actually did a student exchange in Mexico for a semester, and he lived like an hour outside of Mexico City. But I've only really been to like either tourist shit or the Baja Peninsula. I've been to Tijuana and below a bunch of times. Then I've been to like the Cancun area, where it's really just a big party. So I don't know. I would recommend New York City, man. DC is cool. I'd recommend New York City or Los Angeles, man. That's kind of like, those are kind of like the biggest deals in America. So what was your fucking question? Oh yeah, okay. So you're doing computer and software engineering, but you want to be a skateboarder or a rapper, and your question is, do you follow what you love doing or keep doing your degree, which you kind of enjoy and is kind of cool and all that? My thought when I first read your email just now, I had read it before, but when I read it just now, I actually had a thought. My thought is that maybe there's a way to combine both of those things. If you're not good enough at skateboarding to be an actual professional skateboarder, but you have a computer and software engineering degree and skills, maybe you could build a skateboarding website. Maybe you could have an online skateboard shop. Maybe you could have some kind of skateboarding app. You could develop an app for skateboarding in some kind of way. The same thing goes with rapping. Maybe you could have you could develop a website, whatever. My point is, I think that there's a possibility to combine it all, and I think there is a time, because you sound similar to me, except that I don't know shit about computer and software engineering, but I certainly was into skateboarding and rapping, and I was able to make a living rapping, and there's no way I would ever have been able to do it with skateboarding. So at some point, you got to kind of realistically evaluate your talents, and then just go from there. But ultimately, the only person who can decide what's right for you is you. Okay, you got PS. Do you have another album in the works? Yes, I do. It should be out in June, early June. PPS. What is your take on giving money to different types of charities? For instance, World Vision or donating to Save the Rhino compared to a homeless man on the street. Personally, in the latter case, I think giving them some food or taking them out for coffee or something would do more to help than just giving them money, because you don't know if they're using it for that money to fuel some addiction that isn't going to help them sort their life out. Do you think that it is better to give money to a big charity or the homeless guy on the street, and do you think it helps? That's an interesting question. I think it depends on the charity. A lot of these charities have been shown to be sketchy in certain ways. You said Save the Rhinos. That's not something that's dear to me, you know. As a matter of fact, I can't stand the fucking rhinos. I wish that there was a society called Kill the Last of the Rhinos. I would donate $1 million to that. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm pretty indifferent about rhinos. I know World Vision is another one you mentioned. That's the one where you sponsor a kid in a third world country. I think I'd be into that. And I think that, to me, is better than giving money to a homeless guy, because it's specifically for a child. You know, a homeless guy, you know, everybody goes through different things, and everybody has a different life and a different past. Some people have a much more difficult time, but a homeless guy is at least a guy, like a man who can have some kind of ability to make his own decisions, unless he's fucking crazy, which many homeless people are. Most homeless people, at least in this country, are just mentally handicapped. You know, it's like people that can't function in society, and it's very sad that we don't have a better way of treating people, especially considering a lot of them are mentally handicapped because of experiences they had as a war veteran. I think that's fucking evil, to be honest with you, that we don't have better services for these people. But you know, I'm not the president. You know, what the fuck am I doing to help? I'm not doing anything to help. You know, so who am I to blame anybody? I didn't do shit. But my point is that I think that if you're donating it to a big charity and the charity is helping children, I think that's better than giving the money to the homeless guy. As far as the homeless guy, you don't know what he's going to use the money for. Like, in some cases, man, like, I know this is sad to say, but in some cases, if I give a homeless guy money, which to be honest with you, I almost never do. But if he's going to use that for his addiction, it's like, yo, you know what, man? Like, if that's what gets him by, yeah, it doesn't bother me as much, like what he uses the money for. But I kind of have a thing where I don't give homeless people money, and that's all based on a couple bad experiences I've had with it. And also it's like, I don't want to make the choice of like who deserves it. You know, if you live in the city, especially in the United States, because I've been to places in Europe where it was actually shocking to me as an American how little amount of homeless people there were in urban areas. But if you live in the city, you'll be approached often by homeless people, or if you drive your car, they'll be standing on the side of the road. And, you know, everybody's different races, different ages, different levels of handicap. And, like, you start to feel like you're being biased with people. You know what I mean? And I've just kind of been like, you know what? It's either all or none. And if it's all, you're just going to be constantly shelling out money. So I'm just kind of like none. And I know that sounds bad. Every once in a while, somebody will present themselves to me that will make me feel bad, and I'll give them money. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking evil, but it's just kind of like, for me, it just doesn't seem right to, like, be like, is this guy more deserving than the last guy? You know, like, whatever. Yeah, so that's what I got to say about that. Okay, then Charlie also makes some recommendations. Real long email from Charlie here. I don't know if you're interested in this, but below is a little list of some artists that I really enjoy and I think you would like as a thank you for your advice. I'm sure you know some of them. The artists he listed are Atmosphere, Big Burn, who says the Palmer Squares put me onto this guy. I'm not familiar with him. Dave East, I'm not familiar with him. Lil Dicky. Oh, dude, speaking of Lil Dicky, literally today, Lil Dicky put out a music video called, what's it called? It's called Male Pregame, like M-A-L-E space pregame, and it's a fucking amazing music video, dude. It's so fucking good. So I recommend that. Michael Christmas. I don't know who that is, but it's an amazing name. Run the Jewels, Spose, Vince Staples, Wara from the NBHD, and Pell. So those are recommendations from Charlie. Thank you for that. And I hope you have a nice day, or night, or week, or month, year, decade, century, whatever. I hope everything is nice until you die. Dearest Michael, this is from, okay. It is I, Devin R. from Toronto. Last month, I went to the infamous Toronto rap event, King of the Dot. Blackout 5 to be especially specific. LOL. The primary reason I went was to get the highest honor of being in the same room as the artist formerly known as Dumbfounded. Dumb was the first musician that I discovered and explored on my own time that wasn't quote-unquote famous or in the public eye. Also, don't tell him this, but through him I was able to discover you and blah, blah, blah. I ended up liking you better. Oh, wow. That's a little bit of a shots fired at the homie Dumb there, huh? But a little bit of a, what's the opposite of shots fired? A little bit of praise extended to your boy Wax. So I appreciate it. At KOTD, KOTD is King of the Dot. It's a rap battle event. A lot of you probably guys know about that, about King of the Dot. Dumb was selling some merch outside the venue. I went up to him to buy a CD, and the best way to describe how I felt would be through your song Stupefied. I was in awe. That is a little sus. To make me even more starstruck, DJ Zoe was also by his side. Anyway, I ended up having the most awkward interaction with the two, but I still left smiling because I met two of my teenage heroes. As a question for the podcast, do you have any advice for meeting you and your rap homies? And do you have any fun stories of meeting famous musicians yourself? Thank you. Peace. He said April's here. April's almost here, getting excited. And I'm really sorry if any of you guys are disappointed. I swear I've been working, and this ain't out of laziness. I'm trying to. If I would have put the album out in April, it would not have been as good as the album is going to be. That's what I'm trying to say. That's cool that you met those dudes. Those are two good friends of mine, Zoe and Dumb. As far as advice for if somebody were to meet me, like if I have a fan and they're meeting me, what I would say is just be cool. I'm a regular dude. Say what's up. If it's at a show and there's a merch table, I was just talking to someone about this. As far as what not to do, and this is very hard to say because most people who do this are shit-faced drunk. If there's a merch table situation and there's like a line of people and people are buying stuff and getting stuff signed and taking pictures, don't like try to keep it moving, man. Like always remember that like there's people behind you. Like a lot of times a drunk person that's a fan, even though I'm honored by it, they'll just stand there and they'll just be like, dude, you're a stand. You're a stand, man. You're a stand. I love you. And this sounds kind of conceited to like make fun of people like that. But I'm just saying, not for my sake. I love being complimented. But when there's people behind you, it's just kind of selfish, you know what I mean? But if you're not in that situation, if you just see me on the street or if you see me and it's just you and by myself, just come up. You can talk to me whenever. And do you have any fun stories of meeting famous musicians yourself? I've met a few famous musicians. You know who was really I met briefly and who was fucking pleasant as shit was Ludacris. I met Ludacris at a studio in Miami, and he was all by himself. He was just there kicking it, and he was cool as shit. He talked to my manager and me for like 3 minutes, then drove off in his Porsche. What other famous musicians have I met? I think I've told this story before, but this was years ago. This was before J. Cole was as big as he is now, but he was still like signed to Jay-Z and shit. I went to this like Hollywood-ass party, and when I was leaving outside, J. Cole was there, and J. Cole recognized me from my new Crack video, and he was like, da 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 da, and I was fucking honored by that. He seemed cool. I don't know who else I met. I met a bunch of people. Like there was like a year period in my life where I was doing all this Hollywood shit. And who did I fucking meet? It's a musician. Famous musician that I met. I'm trying to think if anybody was a dick. I feel like somebody asked me this question on like the last podcast. I can't think anybody. I met Kweli a couple times. He was cool. Drawing a blank. Drawing a fucking blank. I don't know. I can't think of anything else, man. Can't think of anything else. All right. So I appreciate that, Devin R. from Toronto. Cool story about meeting Dumb. So Wax, this next one's from Aaron James. So Wax, I've been working on a music project. I'll be quick about my question regarding it. What are the spoken/unspoken laws of sampling other people's music for your own? I'm working very seriously on a project, and there's one track in particular with a Portishead sample that is very dope. But I don't know if I can use a track or not, since I'm planning on selling CD versions of the project and leaving the downloadable version free. As a musician who has probably come across this, what advice would you give? I attached the beat to the email so you can hear it for yourself and understand exactly what I'm talking about. Thanks, broski. Be safe out there. Yeah. I listened to the beat, and it was definitely a pretty obvious sample. And that's the thing about sampling, is there's certain samples that are just blatantly obvious because A, you don't really, it's more like just a loop of the song, and B, the song it depends on the song's popularity, how obscure the song is, but then the most important thing is really the level you're at. Because if you're at a low level of the game and you're not really making money off what you're doing, there's no reason for anybody to come after you. For example, like let's say the people who own whatever that Portishead song, for them to even come after you and hit you up about removing it and getting paid off it and blah, 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 it's going to cost them a couple of grand just to pay the lawyers to do their job. So, this is why you'll see somebody do a song with an uncleared sample, and then it's only when it gets to be a really big song does somebody come after them about the sample. So what I'm trying to tell you is, I don't know, Aaron James. I don't know how successful you are or how many people are going to buy the CDs. But most likely I wouldn't worry about clearing that shit. But I will say the official law is not even about whether you sell it or not. It's about whether selling it or not. You're not allowed to use other people's music in your own shit. You're not allowed to sample without getting clearance from them. Because, the argument can be made even if you're not selling it. It's still benefiting you. If somebody hears your Portishead song and then comes and pays for a concert ticket, you still use that person's art to make money. And I think it goes even beyond that. I think it's not just about the money. It's about, not being truthful about whose creative ideas those were. So with that all said, most people don't be clearing samples. It's a pain in the ass. It's going to cost you way more to clear it. And at this point, if you're selling your CD versions of it, I'd just say go for it, man. Unless it's like, because this is the thing. And this happened with Drake. Drake's very first big hit was that song, Best I Ever Had. And that song had a sample in it that he never cleared. And he ended up having to give away like all the publishing from that song to whoever. I don't remember what sample. I don't remember what the original artist was. But he ended up having to give away like all the money. That said, now he's fucking Drake. You know what I mean? That was what launched his career, and now he's Drake. So I would say that if you don't clear a sample and somebody ends up coming after you about it, it probably is a good thing. It probably means you're doing something right. And I think a lot of people feel that way. So especially if you're independent, if you're not on like a major label and stuff like that, I think the way to go is to just not clear them shits, man. And I don't mean to be giving you advice and to do something illegal. But, don't clear your samples and kill people. This next one is from Rain. Rain E. REIN space E. Hey, Wax. My name is Rain T. Payne. I just emigrated from Sweden to Seattle. I'm starting to like it up here. I went to CC in Santa Barbara, and I miss California quite a lot. I'm a short-time listener, but fast-time listener, as I almost caught up on all your podcast episodes. I really appreciate the content that you throw at us. I have about 100 questions, so maybe you can pick and choose. He did have a lot of questions, but I just chose one because I thought it was kind of cool. I thought the other ones were cool too, but it was just a lot of questions. He's like, I know you're a fan of Kanye. You have to this. Hopefully, you'll be able to watch this video. I know you're a fan of Kanye, and I found this video the other day. This guy is talking about Sting and his stupidity, if you may, in media, and it's really interesting. I would like to hear what you have to say. He's obviously a smart guy, and I don't think anyone can pull that image off, but it looks like he's hurting himself in the act. Rain is referring to Kanye when he says that. But this video that he's talking about, let me get the title of the video so you could watch it if you wanted to. I know it's Branford Marsalis, famous jazz player, and I guess he used to play in the 80s. He used to play in Sting's band. I guess the 80s, maybe the 90s, but a lot of you probably heard of Branford Marsalis. He's from the famous family, the Marsalis family, him and Wynton Marsalis. Kind of often considered like the modern kind of ambassadors of jazz music. Of course, my fucking internet's fucking up. Son of a bitch. Come on. The internet at my studio is like either really, really fast and amazing or just non-existent at all. Looks like right now it's non-existent, which is weird because 2 seconds ago it was fine. I'm just trying to find the title of the video so you could watch this because it really is interesting. Okay, it's called Branford Marsalis About Sting and Stardom, web62.com. So really, if you type in Branford Marsalis, Branford about Sting and Sting or something like that, I'm sure that will come up. But he's basically saying that when he was in Sting's band, Sting was actually a really non-arrogant, non-pretentious dude, just kind of like a down-to-earth, humble type. And you'll notice that in certain Sting interviews, like he kind of is like that. But also, when he shows up to an event, he comes out of a limousine, he dressed all fly, and he kind of acts cocky. And Branford Marsalis said that Sting told him one day, like, look, I'm just playing the game. I'm not really like this, but this is what the people want to see. The people don't want to see these rock star types pull up to the Grammys in their fucking Honda Civic, they'd see that and they'd just be like, oh, whatever, this guy ain't nothing, so you got to. Sting's point was that you play the game a little bit and you kind of got to rock star it up if you want to really maintain your life as a rock star. And I guess Rain was equating this to Kanye, saying that maybe Kanye in his personal life and his regular life is a lot more humble than he is. And I don't really have any comment on that because I don't know these people. I don't know what people are like in their regular life. I'm sure Kanye is confident in his music because even in his old interviews before he was really, really popular, he always was confident. And, of course, you've heard stories from people like Dave Chappelle and Kweli about their early dealings with Kanye, and it is what it is. I don't know the dude, so I can't really comment on it. But I will recommend this video to the people that are listening right now. And whether or not Kanye, he said he's obviously a smart guy, and I don't think anyone can pull that image off. But it looks like he's hurting himself in the act. That question is more interesting and something we can talk about. Is Kanye hurting himself with all his crazy shenanigans? I don't believe so. And I think another person that's been doing a lot of shenanigans type of shit recently is Madonna. Granted, I think Kanye is a lot more he's young and he's relevant modernly with his music alone. But Madonna's been pulling shit like that forever. And even when Janet Jackson whipped her titty out at the Super Bowl, Janet Jackson, unfortunately, that was kind of like the last big thing she did. But I think that if she would have had a hot single come out right after that happened, it would have been nothing but positive, because these people know how to manipulate the media and get us to talk about them. Kanye plays that role of the bad guy. He might be arrogant, but I don't believe that Kanye is as much of an asshole as he makes himself be. Like when he does the shit at the Grammys when he's kind of dissing Beck. Then a month later he doesn't diss Beck. A month later he apologizes to Beck. Meanwhile, that whole month everybody's been talking about Kanye West. I think these people are good manipulators of the media, and I don't think it's an accident most of the time. There was a big thing, I guess I only know about it because it was all over my Facebook and shit. And I think it was on Yahoo News as well, Yahoo Front Page News, where like at Coachella, like Drake and Madonna made out. And, you know, everybody was talking about that shit, you know? So, like they say, any press is good press, unless you like fucking kill somebody. Any press is good press. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, that was the last email here on Wax's podcast. Pretty standard episode today, I believe. Nothing crazy, nothing hilarious, but, you know, some insights maybe. Maybe you gain some insight into certain worlds that I might not even realize because I'm just here fucking rambling like an asshole. Anyway, to each and every one of you, bagooba dabba subada, be safe out there.